All right, what you're looking at is an NC, National NC 173. Now, this has the same circuitry as an NC 57, except it has a selectivity section using a crystal. And I saw this, and it looked in really good shape on eBay, and it was 126 bucks. So I couldn't help myself. I sat for like 4 days without a radio to work on. So I clicked on it. It came within 3 frickin' days. Now, what I really wanted was basically a radio that would be where the hell are the tuning caps? Oh, they're down there. Okay. I wanted a radio just to work on a little bit at a time. And the last one was such a piece of junk. See, this one here, you can get in here so much easier. And the radio is just a little bit bigger. If you might notice those yellow caps, this whole radio has been recapped. Even some of these trimmers, I think, have been replaced. So someone really did a lot of work on this, and it's been dropped. I don't think UPS has dropped it. Now, if you can see this knob here, let's put some light on it. See that knob is broken? Right here. That piece is not in the box from UPS. But UPS, the guy that packed this to sell it to me, he didn't do a great job. If the box fell apart by the time it got here. But if some of the broken things had broken this time, the pieces would be in the box. That's the old trick, if you ever wondered when it got smashed. So anyway, this radio, if you saw it in the pictures on eBay, the guy had this loop stick on the back of the radio. And what I think he did was he hooked this on there, and then the antenna came in on it somehow. But, you wonder when you buy a radio what someone else did with it. Now, I just have a test speaker, but I want to show you something. When you turn the antenna trim, that's going to be some work. All right, the broken knob, that's no big deal. Then inside here, let me get it in the frame. Look at it. Okay, the light's in the way. All right. Now, this is a weighted, right here, this is a weighted veneer, a weighted knob unit. And normally there would be a dial cord. Instead, there's two washers that pinch this dial, this round dial. And during the crash, when this broke, it disconnected itself. I know how to fix that. I know how to fix the antenna trimmer. This circuit for this radio is the same as the NC57, which I had mentioned, which makes it so much easier to work on. The other thing, someone has already recapped it, and they did a pretty good job. I won't say I do this good of a job when I recap. I get lazy as I'm up to the 50th capacitor. I start getting bored and lazy, and I know what it has to have to work correctly. But this radio, I think it's 50 pounds, and I have two hernias, and I took it up the stairs to get up to the room here, one step at a time. I was so nervous I was going to pull my hernia even more. But at somewhere in its life, it was dropped. And someone else was working on it, and they recapped it. And the S meter does not work. It lights up. So that'll be another thing. I know how to fix that, unless if the meter's burnt out. Then I'll have to dig up a meter or figure out if there's another meter made at that time that I could swap the movement. I know how to do that. I did repair meter movements when I worked at McGraw Edison in West Orange. They were for aircraft, but they were oil pressure, brake pressure, oil pressure, something else. Oil pressure, brake pressure, fuel pressure, maybe fuel pressure. But I got all these towns, but the problem is I need a radio to work on just to kill time, and that's what happened. I went 3 or 4 days, and I was starting to I was starting to watch programs like The Rifleman. It's terrible. And then what's the other one I always watch? Wells Fargo. And it's getting towards nighttime, bedtime, and then I watch Frasier, which is on an hour earlier than it used to be. And then at bedtime, King of Queens is on. But I've watched those things. I've gone around several times from the first episode to the last episode on several different programs. And plus, as you get older, you become jaded. The programs aren't as funny because you lose your sense of humor as you get older. So stuff that you used to laugh at and you couldn't walk away from, like if you come into the house and you notice the Three Stooges was on, you sit down and you start watching. Now it's like, boy, is that stupid. They're doing that routine again. And that once you have a good memory and you watch the Three Stooges enough time, you realize that it was really, really bad plots. Our Gang was much better. The Little Rascals, Our Gang, they put more into, because it was a big company that made those. MGM maybe? Anyway, so I got another radio, and there's several things still wrong with it, even though the guy recapped it. But I want to tell you, if you can get one of these real cheap, go ahead. But I would suggest before you touch one of these, you buy an NC57. Now, an NC57, National NC57, is the better radio than, say, a Hellcrafters S40. I went and told you the difference. So, but the problem with the National NC57 is most of the cabinets are rust buckets. So to really get a good one. Now this one here, it's missing the felt foot. And that was in the crash, but somewhere else. That piece is broken off. But this thing's been dropped. And I've been putting the packing material out in the garbage a little at a time. And I've been looking, but boy, to break that knob like that. Am I in the frame? Yeah, it's up here. That takes a lot of power. And that means he dropped it down and it hit something this way. Now, the funny thing, after this guy got my money, he took the pictures down. After I got the radio, I always like to go back and see what the person hit on me. Once you got the radio, you're like, he turned this knob for the picture. Oh, sure he did. That's what it is. But in other words, it has been recapped. It does. And that's my test speaker. So it's not that. But in other words, and this is a 2 microvolt front end. The NC183, which is more money than this one, that has a 1.5 microvolt. Now, my NC57 has better than a 2 microvolt front end because I added that. I changed the front end too, which I mentioned it in the video. After a while, when you DX, you only need a radio that's just so sensitive, because DX, the signal is skipping in, and you don't need, the signal skipping in is pretty strong, so you don't need a great radio. But what I like, the real sensitive radios, is during the day, the local AM stations that are further from my house here, they're low power, and I can get them whenever I want, and I can understand what they're saying. There's nothing worse than straining your ears trying to hear what they're saying when they ID. And right now, I think I have, that's Sweet 16 that's on. Sweet 16 is oldies. No, I take that back. It's all music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it's I won't say it's oldies per se. It's popular music from the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's a pretty good station. I think that's it. All right, that's it. Keep on another radio.